it would really help us if that number would change for building projects too. If we would not be obligated to pay it to like say we wanted to upgrade our building, and we've upgraded in the last few years several times, had to pay prevailing wages because $25,000. I mean that doesn't get you much at all. So you can't really do anything for less than 25, and it's just we'd have extra monies left from building projects if we didn't have to pay that prevailing wage. So yeah, it's affected us there too. We've had several expansion projects and all of them over 25,000. Even our parks that we're trying to build a park right now. We're doing it in-house, and if we were to hire a contractor to do that, we'd have to pay prevailing wages for that also.
It increases the cost of everything we do. If we have a road that needs paved and we have to bid that road and it comes in at more than $25,000 and we only get $110,000 from liquid fuels. So if the project comes in at $85,000, it's kind of hard to complete that project if you only have $15,000 left to maintain the rest of your roads for the whole year. So it makes it really tough. So we haven't been able to blacktop any roads for I'm going to say, 5 years or more?
We have a large road project which is necessary. The road's closed in the winter because of the condition of the roadway, and we want to get that road open for residents year-round, and that would be a benefit for safety reasons as well as convenience. And the cost of that project is about $1.3 million, and we've been unable to do that. We anticipated the cost initially to be under $1 million, and with the cost of that at $1.3 million, we've been unable to accomplish it as of yet. We're hopeful to do it this year. We just bid it again, and fortunately, the bids now versus 4 years ago are somewhat in line with what they were 4 years ago, and I think that's a lot to do with the economy. But unfortunately, with prevailing wage what it is, that's not an area where they've been able to reduce costs.
We started with 4 municipalities 4 years ago that did some joint bidding on road materials, and this year we're up to 12, all contiguous in that northeast part of Lancaster County. And again, we're doing as much of these new kind of Band-Aid methods as possible because of the prevailing wage and just trying to limit the hot mix use. So if we could do away with prevailing wage, we would do a lot more hot mix, not a question.
Right now we have a project that's going out to bid for one single road. Actually, an estimated cost will be $500,000, and we're holding our breath hoping that it will be $500,000. Have $400,000 in a grant, and the rest is coming from the township. But we have a lot of other roads that need to be done throughout the township. But because of prevailing wages and other economic conditions, we just can't afford to do them at the present time.
There's no project that can be done for $25,000. You can't even buy a decent car for that in today's market. That is way too low. That's got to be pushed up to about $175,000 at least. There's a lot of small projects that can be done in a very inexpensive way that keeps taxes down, like repairing a small bridge on a township highway is relatively inexpensive, but with prevailing wage, it can go up to over $200,000, $300,000. We have to move that along, otherwise we're going to continually raise taxes, which I'm opposed to.
Raise it, take it up to the $100,000, $185,000 mark, so that the smaller townships have a chance to do things within our financial means. Once we get into prevailing wage, we've got less to work with because we have to pay a higher wage. And some of our contractors that could bid it lower and possibly do the same job. If you're paying prevailing wage or if you're paying the standard wage that the contractor pays, and our contractors in our area are not, working their guys at minimum wage. They pay a good wage. They pay the $20, $25 and plus wage. But if we didn't have to do that, our smaller contractors would get more business out of us smaller townships.
It adds, 20 to 30% to our cost of the roads. I think the biggest problem is that they reinterpreted the law 4 years ago, that made road paving projects that were maintenance before now fall under prevailing wage. And it costs us a lot of extra money to do that. When you get down to it, it costs us a lot extra money. If it would just had kept up with inflation over the years, it would be much better. We could do a lot more with what we have.
We had a job that was a prevailing wage several years ago to put in a restroom. So I got the information, and we're talking like $32 to $35 an hour if it had been done at prevailing wage. We were lucky enough that the lowest bid came in under that, under the $25,000 limit. So things worked out good. But the prevailing wage, as he had said, is way, way out of whack for a small rural township. We just can't afford to do that. And in our township, roads are also suffering because we can't do anything with it because they were really maintenance, and now all of a sudden it's not maintenance.
We are a small township with a very small budget, and we do very little road work because of the way it costs these days. Last year was the first year, and I've been the head roadmaster for a couple years, and last year was the first year that we did a road, and we didn't even pave it. We did a fiber mat on it. So, it was a cheaper price. And if you look at the same size road, it was 1.6 miles, and you're talking $50,000 to $60,000 of fiber mat, and you're talking over $100,000 to pave it. So we can't do it. We can't do it. And you've got to have, some way to save money, and we don't want to raise taxes. And that's the next thing that will be coming down the road is, raising taxes. And we don't have, the people, we have elderly people and stuff in our township that it would hurt them.
Some of the jobs that we have are in a rural county, like a rural township like ours, probably would only amount to about $80,000 or $85,000. With prevailing wages, it would increase it by 25% up to maybe $100,000, which with our small budgets would limit us and not let us get the job done.
We got a little situation. We're a small community, probably 360 people, 800 in the township. We're trying to put a restroom in the park. We could put that restroom in for $15,000, but because it's prevailing wage, it's going to cost us $30,000. And with matching grant funds, it's tough in a small community. Okay, we have a bridge. We have to have the bridge fixed. If we have to work on the bridge, it's prevailing wage. Some of this stuff is just simple things for people to do, and prevailing wage is not the way to go.
Everything that we do now I have a beautiful park. I've got 388 acres of pristine land that we're trying to take. I've got a lake, I've got recreational facilities. All of that I can make. I have another 55 acres that I want to break out and put a pavilion in for the community, put in a recreational area for the community. The cost associated with me doing that, and I have to do it prevailing rate, is well over $200,000, and it's something that we could probably do for $75,000 to $100,000 under the new rule. If they raise that threshold that hasn't been raised in 100 years, I think it was 1932 or something. If they raise the threshold, all we're doing is asking to raise the threshold from $25,000 to $100,000. We're not saying eliminate or raise the threshold. If you raise the threshold, you free me up to drive some of my projects in a more cost-effective, reasonable way, and a more responsible way to my taxpayers. My taxpayers now are getting hurt for absolutely no reason.
The contractors are hesitant to even bid because of all of the paperwork involved in the prevailing wage. It adds about 35 to 40% of all projects if you go with prevailing wage versus the normal wage.